By September 1940, nearly 2,000 invasion barges were packed into the channel ports of Europe. 21 miles away stood the last enemy Germany had left. The army was ready, the date was set, and the invasion never came. This is why. On the 16th of July, Hitler signed Führer Directive No. 16. As England still shows no signs of willingness to come to terms, I have decided to prepare a landing operation against England, and if necessary, carry it out. Note the wording, not I have decided to invade, but to prepare. Even the order was hedging. But the preparation was real. Germany didn't have landing craft, so it emptied the rivers of Europe. Barges from the Rhine, the Schild and the Ebro, flat-bottomed, low-sided and most unable to move under their own power. They came down the canals in their hundreds, into Rotterdam, Antwerp, Calais, Boulogne and Le Havre. By mid-September the ports held nearly 2,000 of them, plus 170 transport ships, 400 tugs and 1,000 motorboats. On paper, the largest invasion fleet ever assembled in Europe. 3 days after the directive, Hitler stood in the Reichstag and offered Britain peace. The answer was no. The army's first plan was enormous. 13 divisions in the first wave, landing across 200 miles of English coast. From Lyme Bay in the west to Ramsgate in the east, the generals had planned it like a river crossing, a very wide river. The Navy read the plan and in effect refused. Germany's admirals knew what its generals didn't. The Kriegsmarine could not protect a 200-mile front, not even close. So week by week, through August, the invasion shrank. The western landings gone, the Ramsgate flank gone. By the end of August, the plan was down to 4 beaches between Folkestone and Brighton. 40 miles, 9 divisions, landing not in a day, but drip-fed across 10. Hadler, chief of the Army General Staff, protested on a front that narrow he might as well put the landed troops straight through a sausage machine. He was overruled because the alternative was not a wider front, it was no front at all. Here is the number that killed Operation Sea Lion, and it isn't in the sky. By September 1940, the Royal Navy had around 50 destroyers within one night's steaming of the invasion beaches. Behind them, cruisers. Behind those, battleships at Roth and Scapa Flow. 700 armed patrol craft watched the coast every single night. And Germany's escort fleet. Norway had already destroyed it. The spring campaign cost the Kriegsmarine half its destroyers, 10 sunk at Narvik alone. By September, Germany could put to sea roughly 1 heavy cruiser and under 10 destroyers. That was the entire shield for 9 divisions of men, in unpowered river barges, under tow at 3 knots for 12 hours. The Admiralty didn't even need to sink the fleets. A destroyer passing at speed could swamp a loaded barge with its wake. The channel, all 21 miles of it, was never really the obstacle. The channel was just where the obstacle would happen. Everyone, German and British, agreed on one thing. None of this mattered unless the Luftwaffe first owned the sky. Not contested it, owned it. Air power was the only weapon Germany had left that could keep the Royal Navy off the barges. It never came close. Britain's radar chain watched every raid forming over France, so fighter command met them by direction, not by luck. And the German fighters had a problem no courage could fix: range. A Messerschmitt pilot leaving the Pas de Calais had roughly 15 minutes of fighting time over London before fuel forced him home. Protect the bombers, protect the beaches, or hunt the navy. Pick one. There was never fuel for all three. On the 15th of September, the Luftwaffe flew its full daylight strength at London and lost twice as many aircraft as Fighter Command, 29 against 58. Whatever the invasion had needed the air battle to prove, it had just proved the opposite. 2 days later, Hitler postponed Sea Lion indefinitely. So, was Sea Lion ever real? Historians still argue because Hitler himself was never sure. He signed the invasion directive on a Tuesday and offered peace from the Reichstag that Friday. 12 days after that, at a conference in the Alps, he told his generals what he'd actually wanted. Adler wrote it down. Britain's hope is Russia. Smash Russia, and Britain's last hope is smashed. Preparations, spring 1941. Read that again. 7 weeks before the invasion of Britain was due to set sail, Hitler was already planning the invasion of somewhere else. Meanwhile, the Channel kept its own calendar. Barges need near flat calm, landings need the right moon and the right tide. The last workable window of 1940 fell in the final week of September. The Navy watched the equinox gates blow in, and the window closed on its own. After the 12th of October, even the pretense was filled away to spring. The tide tables had outvoted the Führer. But here's the thing, we don't have to guess how it would have gone. It was played out. In 1974, at the British Military Academy, Sandhurst, historians and senior officers staged Operation Sea Lion as a formal war game, and the umpires included men who had planned the real thing. Adolf Galland of the Luftwaffe, Admiral Frederick Roux of the Kriegsmarine. They gave the Germans their best case. 22nd of September, surprise achieved. The first wave lands, and for a day it works. The infantry pushes inland, Folkestone falls. Then the sun goes down. Royal Navy destroyers come down the channel in the dark, straight into the follow-up convoys, and the barges cannot fight back. Within 2 days, most of the second wave is on the seabed. The Royal Navy lost ships doing it, but not enough to matter. The men ashore have ammunition for days, food for less, and no way home. And at night, the Luftwaffe can do nothing at all. The game ended with German surrender on English soil, 6 days after rest day. Of the 90,000 German soldiers who got ashore, 15,400 made it back to France. The rest were dead, drowned, or captured. That was the verdict of the men who would have fought it. The invasion doesn't fail on the beaches, it fails in the water, in the dark. Through October, the barges slipped away from the channel ports, back up the rivers they came from. No German soldier ever landed in England under arms. 8 months later, the army built to cross 21 miles of water turned east instead, into a war of 3,000 miles. And the decision that lost Germany everything. Hitler never invaded Britain because the sea belonged to someone else. In 1940, there was only one vote that counted. How Britain's army survived to man those beaches. That video is up now. Subscribe for more content every single week.